Good morning, folks. This is Larry Cedar, and it is May 1st at about 10:25 in the morning, and we are here with another session on Sqanning, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G, the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm. And that's all it is, the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm. Just letting that sink in. Because it's a very, very simple technique. And all I'm trying to convey to you is it's something that you can do instantly. For example, if I were to say to you right now, just take an assessment of your body, and on my count, 3, 2, 1, I want you to release 1% of the tension in your body. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And that's it. You've just practiced the technique. It's that simple, and it's intended to be that simple. You shouldn't have to spend any more than a few minutes thinking about this technique, because when it's that simple in practice, you can do it anytime, anywhere. You don't have to be in any special circumstances. You don't have to have read a certain amount of information. You don't have to have spoken to anyone. You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't need to write a check. Nothing. All you got to do, take an assessment of your body, and on your own count, 3, 2, 1, just release. So you see, relaxation is almost nothing more than just a decision. Once we're aware of that, and once we've reinforced that by practicing it, then it becomes part of you. You begin to have more of a sense of control over your own body, your own sense of being, because what happens is we lose touch with that. We lose touch with the fact that, to not sound cliche or overly dramatic, the power is within you. People spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours and travel thousands of miles to achieve a deep state of relaxation and calm. It seems out of reach. It seems unattainable. It seems difficult to hold on to. And that's only because we've forgotten. We've forgotten that it's just right there within us. And so all I'm trying to do with this technique and teaching this technique is to remind you of what you already know. We all have the potential within us. We all have the capability within us to relax, to calm ourselves. We've just forgotten that it's within our power, within our grasp to do it. So again, 3, 2, 1, release. 1%. The key is incremental release. The key is incremental muscular release. Now, I'm doing my session a little bit early today. I normally do it closer to 11 or so, although there's really no set time, because I just did a little bit of scanning myself, and this is all something I'm going through as well. I'm constantly studying this process. As I do it, I'm studying it in a desire to improve my understanding of it, in my desire to improve my practice of it, in my desire to come to a clearer comprehension of how it works so that I can convey that to you. So what we're going to do today, excuse me, morning, clearing my throat. We're going to practice the basic technique, and then I'm going to go into some of the things that occurred to me earlier today. So again, the incremental release of muscular tension. This whole approach is a physical technique. It's not intellectual, it's not mental, it's nothing you need to read or understand intellectually, rationally. It's all a physical approach. This whole technique has to do with how you feel. It's a muscular approach. You can't rationalize your way out of it or into it. It's strictly a muscular approach. The theory being that as you release the muscles, so you relax and release the mind. As the mind becomes more calm and relaxed, so the body follows, and vice versa. So we start with a simple metaphor for the musculature of the body, and that's gripping the hands together. This is what we do. You can do this any way you like, but I've chosen to start with the hands because they're right here. You squeeze your hands together. That is contraction. The muscles can either contract or release. So you're dealing with a binary system here. Very simple. Muscles contract or release. So squeeze your hands together, that's contraction. And now release. So what you're setting up here is a heightened awareness of this binary force in the body, in the soul, in the mind, in the universe. Everything in the universe is either contracting or releasing. So all we're doing is we're studying this basic function of the universe and our bodies and our minds. Contraction, release. Do it again, contraction and release. Then what we're doing is getting familiar with, tuning into the difference in those sensations, how they feel. What does contraction feel like? Maybe holding your breath a little bit, having to make an effort, takes a certain amount of focus. And now release. What does that feel like in comparison? I suddenly feel like I can breathe. I feel a sort of expansion. I feel a sort of tingling throughout my body as my blood vessels open up and the skin becomes more alive. That's release. So we're reinforcing that difference so that when you have a clear choice in your body and in your life, you can say, I can be this or I can be that. We tend to be more contracted in life. That's what makes us tense, because efforting in life, making an effort to participate in life, involves contraction, the putting together of words, ideas, thoughts, processes. That's what we spend most of our day doing. We become overly contracted, so now we're working to make ourselves equally aware of the process of expansion so that we can then shift our focus to that. And that will in turn relax us and calm us. So here we go. Squeeze the hand together. Hands, that's contraction. And on my count, you're going to completely release. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. Now already in the first 5 minutes of this session, you've released, I'm hoping, maybe 1% of the tension in your body. You've started down that path. You've shifted gears, you've shifted direction, you've made the choice, and you have the power to make that change, and you've done it. So just pay attention to what that felt like. Pat yourself on the back for having done that, and acknowledge that you always had that power in you. You just needed to choose it and decide to do it. Squeeze the hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your entire body. Deep breath. Study those sensations. We're reacquainting ourselves, refamiliarizing ourselves, strengthening within us the power and ability to release. And again, you've just released the tension in your body, another 1%. This process is incremental and it is also cumulative. So it doesn't matter how much you release the tension in your body. What matters is that you continue to do it. Like I always say, tapping away at a giant granite boulder with a little hammer. Eventually you will break down that boulder into dust. But just be satisfied with the little advances. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And let that sense of release pass even further into your body. See, relaxation, not only is it cumulative, but it's infectious. As one part of you starts to experience release, the other parts of your body begin to pick up on that sensation and want to join in. Release feels good. The body knows that instinctively. We are drawn to what feels pleasant and good. So when one part of you begins to relax, the other parts, which are perhaps still stuck in tension, begin to wake up to that fact that something is happening, and they sympathetically will relax. So you'll, as you release your hands, perhaps begin to feel a little bit of release also in your chest, perhaps in your neck, your shoulders. The reason you begin breathing, taking deeper and deeper breaths, is because now your diaphragm is starting to relax. Now every part of you is starting to get on board with what's happening. All we did with the incremental release of muscular tension was get the ball rolling. All we needed to do was start. So much of this process is just starting. In fact, I would venture to say that the hardest part is starting. And I'll explain that in a minute. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1. Release. Let that sense of release pass through your body, your chest, your shoulders, your face, your neck, your back, your chest, your stomach, your pelvis, your feet. Deep breath. There goes another 1%. You see how we're incrementally releasing tension and at the same time cumulatively building up this sense of release. And it's important that you stay focused and stay with it. The mind will try to distract you sometimes, try to bring you back into a contraction of sorts. Thoughts are a contraction. But you have the power, because this is such a simple process, to go right back to the muscles, to get out of the head and go back to the muscles. Squeeze the hands together. I hear you thinking, mind, but I have another more important task. Squeeze the hands together, and 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. Now study those sensations of release. You're becoming an aficionado in the practice of relaxation and release. Now I've practiced this for maybe thousands of hours, and years. And I like to think, whether it's true or not, but I fancy myself a bit of an aficionado in the practice of relaxation. Why? Because I've studied it a lot. I practice this a lot. I'm not like this, an expert at anything in particular, but something that you do a lot, you get better at. You become more familiar with. So I recommend you practice this technique as frequently as it comes to mind. Can't hurt you. It's only good for you. It's not going to cause you to lose control of anything. If anything, it will keep you in firmer control of your life because you will have a clearer head, a calmer mind and body, and you'll be able to more effectively deal with the challenges of your life. But again, the more you practice, the more familiar you'll feel with the feelings, the more you'll understand how they feel, and the more you will confirm that you have the power to create these feelings simply by squeezing your hands together, feeling contraction. 3, 2, 1, release. Now, every session, as every session proceeds, I go through this with you. I don't do this just to teach or to show this technique. I do it to experience the technique. I don't think there's any amount too small of doing this technique. If I could, I'd practice it hours a day because I just sense how clarifying it is, how healthy it is. So I will tell you what I'm experiencing now because I'm going through this with you. I'm feeling more settled in my chair, a little heavier, a little more calm. I'm feeling slowed down. I'm feeling less of a compulsion to go anywhere or do anything or think anything or say anything. You'll notice as the session proceeds, I may begin to take longer and longer gaps between sentences as I begin to tune in less to the constructions, the contractions, which are words, thoughts, ideas, processes, activities, and more into the expansion, the release, the relaxation, the space, the time. That becomes my emphasis as we move from contraction to expansion. So I'm describing those sensations I'm having so that you can perhaps see if they resonate for you. Each of us is different. Each of us is going to have a different experience in this process. We're all humans, but we're all individuals. So you will have your own experience, but we do share a common humanity. We do have bodies, flesh, skin, bone, breath, thoughts. So there are perhaps similarities. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't bother teaching this, but I do think there are similarities. So perhaps some of the things I'm describing resonate for you. But in any case, pay attention to the changes you're feeling so that you can remember them for next time. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. There are only two forces in the universe, contraction or expansion. Everything you see, observe, participate in, engage in, consume, explain, is either in a state of contraction or expansion, and we can go more into the theory of that later. But that's the basic function of the universe, including the muscles. They can either contract or expand. That's why the hands are a perfect metaphor, if you will, for the universe. We've been contracted, and now we want to expand. So squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. Feel what that feels like. It's not a bad thing. It's just a fact of life. On my count, 3, 2, 1, release. That's expansion. Your lungs are, in fact, expanding. Your blood vessels are, in fact, expanding. We've moved ourselves in that direction. Therefore, the blood is flowing more freely. The heart is pumping more freely. You're perhaps feeling a slight throbbing in your feet, your hands, your face as the blood flow increases. These are all excellent signs. Deep breath. And sit in stillness and quiet and study those new sensations. There's not going to be a test, but later when you go to do this again, you will have a newfound sensation and recollection of those sensations that you can draw on as a reference point. So this process will be that much easier for you the next time you do it, and then the next, and the next. You're going to build up a reserve of consciousness of the sense of release, relaxation, and expansion. It's going to become a part of you. And that in turn will make it more accessible to you. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. Study the new sensations. You're literally transforming yourself before your very eyes. And it's important that you acknowledge that, because it's important that you know how simple this process is, and it's important that you know how within your power, within your grasp, this process lies. It costs nothing. It takes a minute. You don't have to drive anywhere. You don't have to read anything. You don't have to visit any particular teachers or gurus. You don't have to visit me. You know the technique now. All I'm here to do is remind you that you have it within you to do. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with classes or study of any sort of technique, meditation, yoga. All of these are wonderful. I'm just suggesting as an option that you remember that when you're alone, when you're unable to get to any of those things, when you're at your most uncomfortable, tense, stressed, you've got the tools within you to relax. In fact, knowing that you can do it yourself is relaxing in itself, because you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to reach outside your own being to achieve that state of calm. It all lies within you. Grasp your hands together, squeeze, 3, 2, 1, release. Did it again. Another 1% of tension just left your body. Deep breath. Study those feelings. Feeling more settled in your chair. More aware of the beating of your heart. Less of a compulsion to go anywhere or do anything or think anything. An expansion of your sense of time, as in, suddenly I'm not counting the minutes or thinking how long I've been doing this. It doesn't matter. Time is a construct. Time is a contraction. Something has been artificially created by man to mark his days. It's a valuable tool. We need it to function as a society. But we can become overly obsessed with time. It can begin to rule us. So as you begin to expand, you let go of the concept of time and realize when you're completely expanded, the time is always now. There's no place you need to be. There's no need to look back at what you were or ahead to what you think is going to be. You're just in the now. That's the most relaxing, expanded place you can be in, because there are no concepts or constructs involved at all. You're just in a state of existence. So if you begin to feel suddenly like you're not paying attention to the clock, like time just doesn't matter, you're not thinking about how long you've been doing this for or how much longer you're going to do it, you've expanded. Note that. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. You've just released another 1% of the tension in your body. And again, these are incremental changes. But we should never evaluate or judge the amount we've released or expanded. What matters is that you did it. Every single speck of release counts as of equal value, because you're adding to the total. It's like the tortoise and the hare. The hare got there quick, but the tortoise got there eventually. In fact, the tortoise passed the hare because all the tortoise cared about was moving forward. And that's all we care about here. The incremental release of muscular tension. Let's do it again. Squeeze your hands together. That's contraction. 3, 2, 1, release. The essence of this technique, as I've said, if someone asks you to describe it in 4 words, instead of saying the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical and mental calm, if someone said 4 words, say, be still, be quiet. If you can't remember anything else I said today, somewhere in the future, when you feel the need to relax, just remember, be still, be quiet. Stillness and quiet have such an amazing power that we don't even realize. Stillness and quiet. Why? Because when we are still, when we are quiet, we effectively, out of necessity, because we're not going anywhere, we're not saying anything, are letting go. We're letting go of activities. We're letting go of all those external things we've grasped onto to make ourselves feel fulfilled, to feel alive. Television, internet, cell phone, liquor, drugs. any of the million different activities we participate in. We've let go. We've had to, out of necessity, because we've chosen to be still and quiet, let go. That, I won't say forces, but that encourages you to experience yourself. You come back into yourself. That simple act, in and of itself, is a huge step towards physical and mental calm. So, if nothing else, you can remember none of this, because none of this is anything but a technique, a means to an end. Remember just to sit, be still, be quiet for 5 minutes. And you'll be amazed what you achieve. One more time, and then I want to discuss another concept. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. And you sink even further into your chair. You feel an even more slowed down sense of time. You feel an increased throbbing in your feet and your hands and face as the blood flow increases, as the blood vessels and capillaries and arteries open up. Your blood pressure drops. Perhaps your voice drops. And you are inducing a state of physical and mental calm. So if it seems as though, to any of you who may have come in late, I'm doing nothing, that's the idea. We always think, what do I need to do to relax? What do I need to do to calm myself down? What do I need to do to stop having obsessive thoughts? And the odd thing is, the solution is nothing. The first thing you need to do in order to achieve a state of calm and relaxation and release is to stop doing. And that includes thinking about, what should I do? Just stop. You can't talk yourself out of tension. You can't talk yourself out of anxiety, I believe. I've done my share of talking. I've done what they call the talking cure. Nothing taken away from that. But my personal discovery has been that much can be accomplished by not talking. Not in every case. But on a simple physical relaxation level, being quiet is very healing. Just the simple act of giving yourself permission to be quiet is healing. Because you've basically said, I'm in control of my own state of being. I'm not obliged to go anywhere or do anything or say anything or think anything. I can make that choice. It's within my power to involve myself in whatever activities I want or not. There's a sense of compulsion that we carry around with us all day. I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be thinking this, I should be saying that. And then when you take the choice, make the choice to be still and quiet, you're in effect saying, I don't have to do any of those things. I'm a free entity, a free spirit. It's enough to just be. I don't even have to go through these series of steps. This is all just basically a means to an end. And this is just a creation of my own device. You're certainly encouraged to come up with your own. But bottom line, where we're all headed is the same place, ultimately. And that's to be still and to be quiet, self-satisfied, at peace, at one with yourself. Back within your own skin, you might say. Why do they call it at peace? I feel at peace. Why? Because I'm no longer tormented by any sense of obligation, physical, mental, or otherwise. Now, you can't stay in this state 24 hours a day. We need to function in the world. We need to go out, do our jobs, involve ourselves in relationships, activities, pursuits. That's life. But what I'm saying is there is a place you can come to a few moments a day and balance your life. Because if we become overly contracted, we lose our ability to function. I like to say that if you become a solid, imploded creature, you can't involve yourself in anything in the world. You're separate. But when you expand, you can then re-engage successfully in life. So contraction has its place. But we need to stay balanced. We need to come back to a place of expansion. And that's why I say we all deserve to have as many moments as we like throughout the day when we are expanded, when we are at peace, when we are relaxed. You are entitled to give yourself permission to do, think, say absolutely nothing. Not only is just being enough, and I don't want to overstate my case here, just being is it. It is everything. This place of stillness and quiet, this sense of being within yourself and being at peace within yourself is the basis, is the foundation for everything you go out into the world and do. You can't leave the station without taking yourself on the train. You can try, but when you get to the destination, you'll have nothing to give. This place where you are still and quiet and at peace within yourself and very much in touch with yourself is where it all begins and ends. So, if anything, I'm trying to encourage in you the awareness that doing nothing but being is of tremendous value. And if anybody is hesitant to start this technique, if we're afraid, and I want to talk about that a little bit, afraid to begin to relax, to release, to let go, to sit still, to be quiet, it's because we've lost touch with that. We've forgotten how valuable that is. We think if we let go of all the things we're hanging on to, all our hobbies, all of our pursuits, all the things we think identify who we are as a person, that keep us alive, we think if we let go of all those things, we'll perish. What am I without my any number of things? I'm laughing because there's so many out there. I've done so many things in my life, so many pursuits, without my exercise class, without my therapy, without my chiropractic, without my beer, without my joints, without my what are we if we let go of those things? Well, the truth is you're yourself. You're more yourself than you ever were because you've dropped all these things which in effect pulled you out of yourself. But we're afraid to do that. We've gotten so used to hanging on to defining ourselves by waking up in the morning and the first thing we think is, okay, who am I? What do I do for a living? How much money do I have in the bank? What sort of food am I going to have for breakfast? Who do I need to talk to today? We're so used to defining ourselves by the externals that we just forget that without any of that, we're everything. So in doing this for myself, in trying to remind myself that it all starts here, I'm hoping to remind you as well. But you know what? I always say, nobody teaches anybody anything that they don't already know. All we do is waken that knowledge in them. So you already know all this. And someday I will come to you and I will say, please remind me, I've forgotten. What was it I said? And you'll say, well, Larry, I'm going to tell you because you know, like I know, like you told me because I already knew. You're enough. You're it. You're done. Still silent. Say, thank you for reminding me. Teacher, student, student, teacher, it's all the same. It's all the same. Squeeze your hands together and on my count, 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. And now, again, I will describe my experience to you because I do this primarily for myself and I share it because I feel it's worth sharing. But I'm experiencing right now, what I will tell you I'm experiencing right now is a deeper settling into my chair. I just feel more at peace, more at ease, calmer. I don't feel as much of a need to go anywhere or do anything. It's almost as if I could sit here all day, just like this. And that's unusual for me because I obsess. And that's why I do this technique. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. So in our remaining time, I want to talk about 2 concepts briefly because I think it's more valuable to practice than to talk. But I do want to touch on these things. One is the concept of resistance. And I've talked on this subject before, but I just briefly want to say, if something feels so good, if we know something is so good for us, why wouldn't we do it all the time? And why wouldn't we instantly sit down whenever we felt stressed and do it? Why? Why do we resist? Why do I, Larry Cedar, every time I start this technique, after having done it thousands of hours and many, many years, still not want to start, ever? I never want to start. I intellectually know it's good for me, but why do I resist? The answer is very simple, because there's something in there that needs to be let go of. And that resistance is that something holding on. So resistance is an excellent sign. If you start to do this, or you think, there's a session starting in 20 minutes. I know I should do it. It felt good yesterday. I don't really feel like I don't want to do it today. I'm going to go have a beer. Or if you're just sitting by yourself thinking, I'm so tense. You know what works is scanning, but I just don't want to do it. That's good. That's good. That resistance, the greater resistance you feel, the more stuff is in there holding tight that needs to be released. So take resistance as a barometer. It's an excellent sign. It may not feel good. It may feel terrible. But don't take resistance as a sign to run. Take resistance as a sign to engage. The more resistance you feel, the more work you need that day. So you have to train yourself. It's kind of like reverse instinct. You have to train yourself. Something that feels bad is good for me. Something that feels bad is good for me. I'm going to start. I feel resistant. I should stop. No, wait a minute. That feels bad. That means I should keep going. That's all I want to say about resistance. Let's do this again, then I'll tell you about my other thought. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1. Release. Deep breath. The difference between scanning and a piece of chocolate cake is chocolate cake feels good right away. Tastes good, feels good, all good. Instant high. Feel crappy later, pot belly later, all the things that come with chocolate cake later. Okay, but it does feel good. I'll give it that. But I don't want to get fat, and I don't want sugar in my system. I want a healthy means to relax and release and feel good. So I scan. Problem with scanning feels kind of crummy up front. Every time, resistance, anxiety, letting go, a little scary, letting down my guard. The upside, once I get past that initial resistance, and it's only what I call initial resistance, you will very quickly get past it if you stay with it. Once I get past it, on the other side, freaking nirvana. Once I get past the resistance and release and let go, oh my God, it's a calm like no other. It's a stillness. I don't do drugs. Not now. In college, smoke dope like everybody. But this feels like I smoked a joint. I've moved over the course of this session into a place of just like, man, I feel fine. So if you can get past that initial resistance, there's a big payoff. Just remember that. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Deep breath. So the second thing I wanted to discuss, how much time we got? Good, a little bit of time. I try not to go over half an hour. I get tired of hearing myself talk. What do I do about my thoughts? When I sit down to be still and quiet and calm and release, what do I do about my thoughts? In fact, it's my thoughts that got me in this kind of tense place in the first place. What do I do about those? No matter what I do, I can't stop thinking. I can't stop thinking. I get distracted. I should check my email. I should see what's going on the television set. If I could just have a beer real quick right now. I really want to call so-and-so. What do I do about that? Well, this is a discipline. This technique I call scanning is a discipline. It is something that you get better at the more you practice. And one of the things that you must get better at is keeping a focus on the technique and practice. It ain't easy. The reason I'm talking about it today is I did a session this morning myself, and my mind would not shut the F up. It would not shut the F up. It was like a wild horse in a corral, and I kept having to try to rein it in. Rein it in. It was insane. But I did get past it. And when I got past it to a point of incremental muscular release, when the state became deep enough, the mind was quiet. So the question is, how? This is a suggestion that works for me. When your mind is racing, I firmly believe, having practiced this for thousands of hours, that if you put your full concentration into the incremental release of muscular tension, if you put your full concentration into an awareness of what it feels like to contract and then release and pay attention to what that feels like, if you keep your focus there, your mind can't race at the same time. It will try. It is a tug of war. It is a tug of war. Your mind wants to think, your body wants to release. Your mind wants to think, your body wants to release. So what is a thought? A thought is a contraction. You're literally having a contraction-expansion battle. Your mind, your being wants to contract. Thoughts are a contraction. They're a bringing together of words, thoughts, ideas, concepts, imagery. They're a contraction. You can't have thoughts unless you pull those thoughts and ideas together, but they tie you up. So you are working against that by focusing on the muscles and releasing. The muscles, the release of the muscles will migrate to the mind, to the brain, until the brain starts to, like a muscle, relax, and you let go of those thoughts. It will happen, but you have to keep at it. You have to keep, it's like training, like I said, a wild horse, or training a disobedient dog. You have to just keep saying sit, stay, sit, stay, sit, stay. You're dealing with yourself. You're training yourself. I never said this technique would necessarily always be easy. It's easy to learn. It's easy to practice. But you will be challenged by your own mind, your own body, by the universe. But the more you do it, the better you'll get. So when your mind is racing, I'm using the hands, but you can pick any part. Squeeze your hands together. There's those thoughts, but think about the hands. Think about that contraction. All I want you to do now is think about on 3, 2, 1, release. Study how that feels. Deep breath. Now the mind wants to think about something, but go back to the hands. Squeeze, 3, 2, 1, release. Put all your focus, all your concentration into that sense of release. Deep breath. Again, squeeze the hands. 3, 2, 1, release. Let that sense of release pass through your body. Deep breath. And I'm not saying it'll happen all at once, but if you stick with it, and you don't have to squeeze release, you can just focus on an area of your body, your chest. 3, 2, 1, release. Your face. 3, 2, 1, release. If you focus on that incremental release, eventually, when those muscles do begin to release, your mind will also release, and the obsessive thoughts will dissipate. And so that's all I wanted to talk about, resistance and thoughts. This is a process which will become easier and more effective the more you practice, so I recommend you do. But if you can do nothing else, then at least 2, 3 times a day, sit yourself down in a chair and think, be still, be quiet. Deep breath. So there you have it. It is 11 o'clock. I think it's been about a half an hour, so I think we'll wrap it up. Just to review, I call this process scanning, S-Q-A-N-N-I-N-G, as in scanning the body, but with a Q, just to be cute. But what you are literally doing is you're on a mission to study and explore every part of your body, finding little pockets of tension where you can, and incrementally releasing them. If you feel some tension in your face, 3, 2, 1, release. The top of your head, 3, 2, 1, release. Neck, shoulders, chest, back, pelvis, legs, feet. Continue to cycle through your body, either with the hands or just visually. And I say visually, I mean conceptually in your mind, incrementally releasing little tiny bits of tension. And as those tension pockets begin to open up, that sensation will spread through your entire body. Allow it, encourage it, register it, remember it, always remember to breathe. That is a sign that your body is getting on board with the program. And then always take a moment to be still and be quiet and study those feelings. And let yourself come back into yourself. Again, we don't want to live here. You can't. We're active, involved human beings. We're engaged in life. That requires contraction, efforting. But what we do want to do is balance our lives. If we're too far contracted, we want to bring it back towards expansion until we're, you've heard the expression, centered. That's the goal of scanning. The incremental release of muscular tension for the purpose of achieving a deep state of physical and mental calm. So it's called scanning. I do sessions fairly regularly every day, sometimes early, late morning. I'm a little earlier today. I might do one in the afternoon. If I can, I squeeze one in. I will repost this session. I always repost the day's session immediately to my personal Facebook page, so you'll be able to see it there if you missed any part of it or want to watch it again, Sqanning. Or you will find all this session and all previous sessions on the Sqanning Facebook page, Sqanning. If you haven't seen it, I hope you'll go over there, like it, and follow it. The more followers I have over there, eventually, the more likely I am to move all these live sessions over there, which is my goal. I also have a Sqanning YouTube page, Sqanning, so you can view all those videos there. So we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for joining me. It's good to know this technique, but it's even better to share it. So I appreciate the opportunity to share it with you. I hope it helps. Hope it helps you have a more balanced, centered life. There's a lot of tension out there. We all need an opportunity and ability and skill to relax. So have a good day. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.